The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone. As everyone is logging into the webinar, my name is Jeffrey Kosin. Today's topic for the Thursday webinar is the Intuit profile, customizing profile. So we'll talk about a few of the features. Last week we talked about the software itself and how to customize that. This week we're going to go specifically to the modules, meaning like the T1s, the T2s, T3, and FX, and how to customize that according to your preferences. So we'll talk about that. While people are still logging in, I'm going to talk about about myself. I've been doing these webinars this is my second year now. Really enjoy doing them. Really love sharing some insight into the software, and now that I'm learning more from the feedback that I'm getting, improving the webinars in accordance to your preferences and what you like to see in the webinars. Also putting in some tips so that for those who are more advanced, they may catch on to something that they haven't seen before. So I love doing that. Right. Before you start your, of course you'll probably have gone through this already when you log into your control panel or your GoToWebinar control panel. It's going to ask you to check your sound and check your speakers. Please check that before we start the webinar in case you can't hear anything. It would be a good idea to just do that before we start the webinar. Another thing is, if you have any questions, please post them in the section of your control panel where it says enter a question for the staff. I will answer those questions most likely towards the end of the webinar. If there's something specific that I'd like to share with you that someone may have asked, then I may include it within the webinar itself, but I try to put them towards the end of the webinar. Today, I will pace myself at a good pace. If we go over the time of 3:15, I'll make sure that I mentioned that we will go over. For those who are still interested in staying beyond the time allocated for the webinar today, you're more than welcome to do so. Okay, so it looks like we have our attendees. Let's get started. In this webinar, we're going to focus on customizing profile that will suit your needs. These are the certain sections or settings that we'll be talking about: options module settings, the options template settings, options pricing, toolbars, the data monitor at the bottom, and a little tip for you guys in case you haven't known or no one's shown you this before. Something I learned about 2 years ago that can save you. It can save you from if you want to use multiple monitors and open profile at the same time in open multiple instances of profile. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so let's get going into the options module. So the options module is where you would make changes specifically for the module itself. So you're customizing your settings for a T1, a T2, a T3, or an FX. To get to that option setting, you would have to go under options in your toolbar, or sorry, in your menu, and then you would go to module. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up profile, and I'm going to go to that option. So options again, options menu, and then you would select module. Once you do that, it's going to open up this module options window, and you're able to make changes to TP1, T1, T2, T3s, and your FX. You can also make changes to other years. So by clicking onto the arrow that's facing down, you can select the other module years. Okay, in this case, I clicked on the 2016 T1 TB1 arrow, and then it gave me other options for 2015, 2014, and so on up until 1997. With the T2, if you do the drop down, it's going to give you the other modules for T2, 1996, 97 T2 up to the current 2015, 2017 T2. Same with the T3, it's very similar to the T1s. You have 2016 down to only the 1999 T3s. And for FX, you have it down to similar to the T3s from 2016 FXQ, meaning the Quebec, to FX 1999. Just be aware that the Quebec FX is only up to 2002. Most likely you'll be using the more current ones like the 2016, 2015. For those who are using the older ones, then you would have to go drop down and make the customization under the other year and modules. Okay. Just for simplicity for today, I'll just talk about the 2016 T1 TP1 just to give you an idea what you can do within the module. And most of our customers are on the T1 TP1 module. That's what they use throughout the season. I'll maybe talk about the T2 quickly, but I'll focus on the T1 TP1 today. So once you click on to 2016 T1 TP1, you're going to get these different tabs: a general tab, a data locking tab, a variance tab, disclaimer tab, and then your T1 TP1 review tab. General tab will enable you to customize anything within the module, so the forms itself, some indications within the forms, carry forward settings. You have your RC59 form, MR69 form, your 1013, the level 2 authorization. You can set that as soon as you open up a T1 TP1 for 2016, your 1013 or T1013 level authorization will be number 2 if you indicate it here. So that's some good settings to set. People usually would set this before they start their season. That way throughout the season all their customization is done. You can also do it for your T183, your Express NOA. Do you want to have it checked or unchecked? New files, what would you like to do? Do you want your prepare initials to be indicated there? Do you want your language of correspondence to be English, or do you want to keep it blank? RC59 again, these are for the new forms. Your MR69 for the new forms, your 1013s when you create a new form. The one above is for carry forward files, so just be aware of that. So new files, you have the settings here for new files. So that means that when you open up, when you start with a new file or new return, those settings will be set already for you. So it saves a lot of time once you set these. Pre-assessment, post-assessment review, what would you like it to be set to? Do you want it to be blank, where you just indicate what you want, contact prepare by mail or contact client? Your salutation, would you like it to be formal or casual? And then you have other options here where you update your information on the info page. So if you've indicated your prepare information, like we talked about last week under the options environment, do you want that profile updates that information as soon as you open up a return that someone may have been working on or that you've been working on in the past? Okay. Sometimes your prepare information may change, so you want profile to update that information. Complete prepare information on T1 jacket. You can indicate that. Current signing date, so profile will use the date that's set in your system and use that date for the current signing date. Complete line 6509. You can have profile automatically go to the joint client letter if you tend to use a lot of the joint client letter. If you have a variety of clients, whether it's single or joint, then you can uncheck that. Then you have your joint client invoice. So if you have if you have a couple returns, if you always do client couple returns, then you can indicate that. This one is a good one that I wanted to mention, and this helps a lot if you're using form selection, which I'll mention after. But if you want your forms, your form selection is going to be set, going to be talked about next week. But if you indicate your settings for form selection and you'd like it to be carried forward to the next year, so you don't have to carry forward those settings or indicate those settings again next year, then just set this to automatically carry forward your form selection settings. It saves a lot of time. I know some people have to set it every year. If you want to save time, do this automatic carry forward form selection settings. Calculation options allow family linking. So if you have dependents and you want that you want the returns of the dependents to be linked to the couple return, then you can allow family linking. Complete maximum OAS, recalculate invoice on data locked returns, so you can indicate that. And then you have your file naming, whether you want it to be long names, long with social insurance number. So it's just going to, when you save a file, it's going to have this type of format within your file name when you save it. Okay. Client color, so if you have a return and you want to, say for example, you have a couple and you'd like the first spouse to be light blue and the other spouse to be another color. Right now it's set to light blue and light green. If you prefer other colors, then you can indicate that here. For example, I like the color purple, so I'll put light purple, and for the spouse it will be, say, pink. Okay, so you can change that here, and you also you can indicate it for the TP1 client to your first spouse and your other spouse to be another color. For data locking, so say for example you like to protect your file from being edited by another user within the office, and you prefer to lock that return after you print it or after you've completed the return, and you want to automatically have ProFile lock that return so it can't be edited. You can indicate that by going into the module itself, going into the data locking tab, and then just indicating under the client status or the e-file status. I've seen people put client status to be completed, and they put the e-file status to be accepted. And so when the return is completed and it's been e-filed and it has been accepted, then ProFile will lock that return from being edited by anyone else. In order for you to unlock it, so I'm just going to open up a return here. Okay, I have a 2015. I can do it with any return. I would go under File. Then I would go under Properties, and there is, if it is locked, then it would have a check mark in this box here, okay, if you set your data locking. You can lock it manually too by doing what I just did. To unlock it, of course, you would just click on the check mark, and now the return is unlocked. It's as easy as that. Okay. Let me just bring up the options module again. So that's data locking, indicating whether client status, if it's a client status that you want to set it to, or e-file status that you want to set it to. Variance is so what it does is it compares either a dollar value or percentage within the return. So it's going to compare, say for example, a balance or something to do with the medical expenses, and you want to set a variance for that, a dollar amount or a percentage, and then once you have a return created, say from 2015, and you create a 2016 return, and there's a variance to a particular field, that then it will indicate that as a variance, and I believe the color is brown. The actual field will turn brown and indicate that there is a variance within that field. Okay, so it comes in handy when you like to keep track of any variances. The default, the disclaimer is meant for a standard, so you have your standard disclaimer where you can put the disclaimer within the return. So in order for you to activate that, you would just put a check mark there. This would be indicated on the T1 jacket. And for the business disclaimer, if you have any self-employment like the T2125, you can put a disclaimer there, or your rental income. Okay. Then you have your T1 TP1, which is similar to the variance, but this is specifically for the TP1 review. It will create a variance threshold, and you can also put a dollar amount or a percentage, and you could also do and, so dollar amount and percentage. T2 I'm going to talk about quickly. You also have the disclaimer. So you have your standard disclaimer, your Giphy disclaimer for your income statements. Your variance is also available, your data locking, and general is going to be a little bit different with the T2s because you'll have less, so carry forward files, you're able to set these like your prepare initials, partner initials, your notes, the freeform notes, you can carry forward those, MR69 authorization, your RC59, select the program accounts and authorization level and give these accesses for these for your program accounts, your representative default, individual or business, and then for the new files itself, pretty similar to the carry forward files, default initials, partner, MR69, default complete return using Giphy. That's a good one so that you don't miss indicating complete return using Giphy, right, which is indicated on the information page. I would set that because I've had calls in the past where people don't have it indicated, and it causes some misflow. And as soon as we clicked on that complete return using Giphy, everything was flowing through onto the income statements. Okay. So you have the similar settings here, and then you have your RC59X, cancel business consent or delegate authorization. Then your file naming is indicated here, like the T1. So you have a long name, short name, your options where you update the prepare information on the info page, very similar to the T1. Current signing date, again, it's going to grab the date from your system. For technical support use only, I haven't seen that being used, so probably you won't have to indicate that. Then you have your form color again. So you can pick your favorite color for the forms, and in this case I like light purple, and now all my forms for T2 are going to be the form color for this specific module 2015-2017. Just as a quick note and review, if you're changing a setting within one, say for example I do 2016 T1 TP1, it's not going to carry those settings and set them for 2015. You'd have to do them each and every one. You'd have to go through each one and make those setting changes. Okay, so just make a note of that. So if I made a change to 2015 2017 too, then I would, and I want to do it also for 2014, then I would indicate, I would change it to 2014 2017 and then make the changes within my settings here under General, Data Locking, Variance, and Disclaimer. That setting that, for the T3s, it's the same. You have a General, Data Locking, Variance, and Disclaimer. And then you have your FX, and you have your disclaimer, variants, data locking, and general. Okay, so I noticed that there's some questions. I will save them to the end because it looks like we have some great questions there. So I'm going to save that to the end. There's a few topics that I want to get through at a good pace, so I don't want to miss out. I don't want anyone to miss out on what we're talking about today. So I'll save the questions for the end. All right. So that is the module options. Just as a note, again, each module will have different settings. So I would take some time before the season, look through them carefully and see what kind of settings you'd like to set within those modules. Once you set those, then you can press OK, and that will save your settings. If you have a question about this file template, this actually is a good one to know about, and I will demonstrate that. I'm going to create a new 2016 T1 TP1. And most of my customers are going to be single. Province of residency is going to be in Ontario. I always e-file the return, and my pre-assessment, post-assessment are set to contact by mail. They're all Canadian citizens. Yes to Elections Canada. They don't have any foreign income, and taxpayers' income is 0. Language of correspondence will be English. Okay, and so those are some of the basic settings that I'm going to put in here. Okay, and let's put yes for this authorization for e-filer to represent the taxpayer. All right, and those are the most common settings that I have, and I want to make sure that every time I start a return, it has these settings already set. Okay. Now you could also set it within your options module, but I want a template to start out with, and so now I'm going to save this return. So I'm going to go File, Save, and I'm going to save this as a template. Okay, so I save that as template. Now I can go back to Options module. I can browse for that file. Just find that. See if it's saved under the 2016. Okay. Try the other one. There it is. So I'm going to pick that template. And now every time I start a 2016 T1 TP1, it's going to have those settings. So let me demonstrate that. I'm going to close this return, and I'm going to start a new one, File New, and Single, Ontario, set my e-file return, so on. So all the things that I've indicated already are now in that template. So it saves you a lot of time if you have some common settings that you want to set, and every time you open up a return or a new return, it's going to have those already indicated. So that's a great time saver for everyone. Okay. Close that. And now I'm going to go back to the module and see if there's anything else that I'd like to indicate. Looks like I've covered everything. So that's the options module, and it looks like there's a few people asking questions about this. I will see if I can go through them and answer those questions when it comes to this. But I'm just going to move on to the next topic here, which is going to be our, just close this, okay, which will be, okay, so we've seen this window here, talked about the carry forward form selection setting. Okay, move on to the next one, which is going to be our options template setting. So the option template setting is tied to your client letter, your invoices, your labels, and so on. Okay, so I'm just going to bring that up within ProFile. To get to the options template, you would have to go under the options menu and then click on to templates. And then you'll get a window that looks like this. And you notice that some of them are indicated here. You'll see that there's an engagement letter, there's a user letter, there's a deceased client letter. Let me just open up ProFile so I can show you more of the forms, more of the letters. I'm going to go under options, templates, and you have your engagement letter, your user letter, deceased letter, which I showed you in that clip, client letter. Q letter is for Quebec. You have your invoice, so your client invoice for Quebec, deceased for Quebec, joint client letters if you do couples, bankruptcy client letter, post-bankruptcy authorization letter, online payment email, joint client letter, and your Quebec joint letter. Payment form, T7DRA, your mailing label, and then your Quebec mailing label, and more of the forms at the bottom for Quebec. Okay, so you can scan through those. If you ever want to make a change, say for example, I like the client letter, but I want to add something else to that letter, I would select it and highlight it by clicking on to the letter, client letter. You'll know that it's picked by this highlight blue or blue highlight. Once you have that selected, you can click on this option at the bottom, edit template, and you'll get, just close that. The scripting is actually in blue, so what that means is ProFile grabs information from the return and it applies it to the letter. And say if you want to add something here. For example, we've enclosed 2 copies of your 2016 tax return, income tax return. You'd like to add a thank you to that. Then now your template or your letter will have a thank you in that customized letter. So you can edit this black text. You can add to it if you want. You can take out the black text if you prefer that. You don't want to have a particular sentence that's been put here by default. But what I would watch out for is editing these blue text because they are script. They are coding within the return or the letter that will retrieve information. If ever you come across this and you put some kind of information by mistake, then just don't save it. It'll go back to the information that you had originally. That way you don't break the scripting. You know that the script is broken if it starts to turn red. For example, if I go put a 0 in here, then you notice that it turns red. That means the scripting has been broken. If you know what you put in there, then you can just simply take that out, delete it, and then it's back into blue. Okay. If you want to save that change that you made or that addition, in this case I put a thank you there, I can just go to File, Save, and then now ProFile is going to ask me, what do you want to save it as? I'm just going to wait for that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it as my template. Okay, I'm going to open up a return for 2016. Use that template. And now if I go to the client letter, or letter, Okay, you'll notice that there should be a thank you in here somewhere. It looks like the, let me see, income tax 2016. Let me see if it actually, you could also edit it by right-clicking the letter. Might have made the change under a different module, so let me just double check here. Yeah, thank you is there. Okay, so I'm going to save that file, save as. I'm going to put it under Documents, My Profile Data. There's a Templates folder, so I'm going to put it under Templates. Letter revision 1, I'm going to do a client letter. Customize. Okay, Profile is going to ask you, do you want to use that template for your client letter? I'm going to say yes. And now if I go back to the return, it should say thank you in here somewhere. Let me just update that. I'm going to close this letter and go to letter. Oh, it doesn't say, thank you right there. Okay. So if you ever want to change it, you could just go edit template. If you have the letter open, this is an easier way. It's another way to add that in. Okay. And if you want to just do it for one return, you can use this personalize. So say, for example, I just want to add that thank you here. And this will only be applicable to this one return, and it won't carry to the other returns. Say, for example, you want to add a letter to this specific client, then you can edit their client letter in accordance to what you want to add in. Okay? All right. So that is the options template. You can also edit any of the other letters or the labels or the invoices. So if you prefer to add something in, you can do it the way I did it with the letter itself, the client letter. Next one is the options pricing, and that is the option under options and pricing. If you do invoicing through using ProFile, then the first thing you're going to do is set your pricing. So let me do that. I'm going to open up ProFile, and I'm going to go under options, pricing, and this is where you can set and put your GST number, the rate that your province uses, the invoice number, where do you want to start from, PST if you have any PST. Then you can indicate automatically have profile increment invoice number, so you can indicate that, and then you have your different year, and it's only available, so just take a note of this, it's only available for the T1, TP1. The invoicing for T2, T3, and FX is not available, so just for your T1, TP1. Then once you know which module you want to indicate a invoice for or pricing for, then you would go invoice type, whether you want it detailed or brief. Detail is going to give you the breakdown of everything that you're charging. Brief will just give you a brief description of your charges. Invoice by, if you prefer to invoice by schedule or price by schedule, or do you charge by hour? Okay, so you want to indicate that. Take a note of this because it's also applicable to when I do the billing. Okay, so I'm just going to put it under detailed and schedule. My basic rates for T1 is going to be, if it's paper filed, it's going to be $80, $5 for paper and or extra, and then if it's electronically filed, I'll just do $75. You can go through these schedules, how if you charge by other schedules, you can indicate your pricing there. The quick thing I want to mention is discounting. So you could actually discount individuals. Say, for example, you're dealing with senior citizens and you prefer to discount their returns, then ProFile will look at the date of birth and see if they qualify for that discount. Okay. You could also set your hourly rate here if you'd like. So once I've indicated my pricing, I can press OK. Then the next step would be billing. Okay. And I would have to indicate whether the invoice type is detailed or you're invoicing by schedule. Then you'll see the pricing here. Okay, whatever is activated within your pricing and billing. And then once you've looked this over, you've indicated your invoicing type. You can simply go into the invoice, client invoice, and then you'll see your basic charges flow through. Some people have asked, why when I go to the invoice, I don't see any charges. What I would suggest is first go to your options pricing. Make sure you have your pricing indicated. You've indicated your invoice type, whether it's detailed or schedule. Once you've overlooked that or you looked it over, then go to your billing and make sure those settings are the same as your pricing. And then once you have set these, go to your invoice and you'll see the flow through. Okay, so some tips there when it comes to invoicing, billing, and pricing. Excuse me. So from here, you have the screenshot. I'll put that in there. And now let's talk about the toolbars. Toolbars is a good tool when it comes to shortcuts. So as you see, I've segmented them according to audit toolbar, forms toolbar, and then you have your shortcut toolbar. How to turn them on and off, I'm going to bring up ProFile here. So these are your toolbars here up on the top. You have your audit, which is this one here, and drag these. You have your shortcuts, and then you have your forms. Okay, so these are the forms here, and these are the audit, and these are the shortcut. To turn them on, you would go under options, or turn them off, sorry, because they're already on. Options, toolbar, and say for example I don't like to use the shortcuts. I just go to toolbars and unindicate shortcuts by clicking onto it, and it disappears. So now I just have my audit and my form toolbar. If I want to bring it back, then go to options, toolbars, and shortcuts. And same is applicable to the other toolbars. I can uncheck my audit and I can uncheck my forms, and they're not available to you. Okay. By default, you will have all your toolbars, the audit, and also the forms. A good tip for you guys when it comes to, say for example, you tend to use more than just these forms indicated here, and I want to add, say for example, the invoice to that form. I can go to the invoice tab right here, and I can just click, left click it, and then drag it up to the toolbar or the forms toolbar. It will turn into white, and I can add that in. So now I have the invoice available under my forms toolbar. You could drag these down. Let me just see if I can do that. Looks like oh, there we go. So you can drag these out if you want, and then place it under. If you don't have, if you have tons of forms and you prefer to have it way across, then you want to add more in, then you can just right click and then drag it down and you can drag it under the other toolbars. So that's a handy tip for you guys in case you like to use that option. Okay, so that's toolbars. Let's talk about just minimize that. So you have your audit toolbar, forms toolbar, and your shortcut toolbar. The data monitor is, it looks like this here at the bottom. If you don't see it, I'm going to bring it up in ProFile. I'm going to show you first on how to bring up the data monitor so that it shows at the bottom of your returns in ProFile. So I'm going to bring up ProFile again, and if you don't have the data monitor, which is at the bottom here, so I have modified e-file not eligible, balance refund is 0, T104 is other employment income is 0, combined is 0. If you don't have that at the bottom, then you can go under the environment, options environment, go under display, and then make sure that this data monitor has a check mark. If it doesn't have a check mark, then that's the reason why you don't have data monitor at the bottom. So I'm just going to press OK, and you'll notice that once I click onto that, you don't have your data monitor. To switch it on, options module again, options environment, display tab, and then indicate data monitor. And there it is. Okay. Now, if you probably have a question about adding to that. If you want to add to the data monitor, you can. I'm just going to use this T4 here. Actually, I'm going to use the T1, and I'm going to go to, say, this 128. The 127. I want to have taxable capital gains from the Schedule 3 or Field 127 of the T1 form, and I want to add that into the data monitor. So what I can do is I can left click until you see that arrow with the form or the rectangular form, and then now you can drag that into the data monitor and it adds it in. Okay? Or you can use this plus sign at the bottom right hand corner. You would have to go to the field itself. Say for example I want to add another field. Let's do 129. So I'd have to go to that field first, and then I would click on the plus sign, and there is the T1 129 RSP income. Okay, so there's two ways of adding to the data monitor. You can left click, wait till that icon comes up with the arrow and the rectangular icon, and then drag it down. Okay, or you can use the plus sign. You'd have to go first to the field that you want to add in and use the plus sign. If you added all your data, if you added a bunch of fields and you want to clear them and go back to default, you can right click the blank space and you can use default monitors. Okay, and that will bring it back to the original default monitors, and you can reset your fields if you'd like. Okay, so that's data monitors. And the last topic will be the tip for the day, and that's multiple instances. Okay, this is a good one that I came across a few years ago. I saw someone demo this, and I thought that would be great for those who like to open up multiple instances of ProFile. So to do that, you first need to go to your ProFile icon. So I'm going to do that. Just give me a moment here. I'm going to close this return. Okay, and then close up this and bring up ProFile. So I have this profile icon, and now what I want to do is I want to go to, hoping everyone can see this, screen. All you'd have to do is you need to go to find where your profile icon is, right-click it, and then go to Properties, and then where you see Target, you would give it a space, /, and then type in multi. Okay, just like what you see right here. Space / multi, and then just apply it. And press OK. All right. So now you should be able to see my screen now. Okay. So if you did a right click on the profile icon, you'll see under Shortcut tab a target, and just put a space after the quotation mark, / multi, and then apply it and press OK. All right. And that should give you the ability to open up Profile. So when you double click Profile, it will enable you to open up multiple instances of Profile. So you'll have multiple profiles open at the same time, and that basically enables you to have Profile on one screen, have a return open, or have specific returns open under that profile, and then if you want to open up another instance of Profile by not using the first software, then you can open up another instance of Profile if you have that setting set, the / multi. Okay, so hopefully that helps you throughout the season. All right. And the last thing I want to mention before I answer the questions is I need your feedback. So we are developing some things within the Getting Started page for new users and returning customers, and we're developing a page that, or a couple pages for individuals that are coming back or are new users. And we need your feedback. You gave us some great feedback on the user guide, so I'd love to use you again as another set of eyes to give us some feedback on this training page. The first training page is called Training Page A, and basically it's an onboarding page which enables you to go through the topics of getting started, downloading, installing, activating, and so on. The layout itself is where you can click on to the arrow here, and it enables you to expand. So let me show you what that looks like by the next slide. So when you click on the arrow, System Requirements and Install Options, it will give you the content itself and if there's any links related to that topic. Okay, so that's Training Page A. You have your topic or your main topic, and then when you click on the arrow, it's going to expand out and it's going to show you the content. For the Training Page B, it's a little bit different. You have the Getting Started. It's going to give you the description right on the right side when you click onto it. And if you click onto one of the topics here, it's going to give you the content right beside it, just like this, for carry forward and import data. So you click on a topic on the left side, it's going to give you the content and related links on the right-hand side when you pick it. So we'd love to hear your feedback on that. So let me show you that again, the differences. So this is training page A. So you have your topic. You click on the arrow, it's going to expand just like this, and it'll give you the content. Or do you prefer training B, where you have the topics on the left-hand side, and then you have your content available on the right side once you pick one of the topics here. Okay, it's going to be in the survey, so just send us your feedback from that, whether you prefer training A or training B, and we welcome your feedback from that. It would really help us a lot. Okay, thanks, Mike. Training B or page B looks good. If you could just put that within the survey, that would be awesome. So it looks like we went over our 3:15. So for those who want to go, or for those who want to stick around, I'm going to answer most of the questions. I'm going to take my time up until about 3:30, if you don't mind. That way I can answer a lot of the questions that you've posted. Okay, so let me just bring up the support page here. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us via our chat or email, or give us a call at that number available. So for those who are leaving, I just want to thank you for your time today. Really appreciate your attendance, and really appreciate your ability to listen in to these webinars every week. So let's start out with the first question. Mike has a question. Oh, that was more. Hope you have a great day. Thanks, Mike. Sound works. Any client management option in ProFile, communicating with clients? Rajvinder, probably something that you may want to look into through our calendar. We talk about Hub and Link. Also check out our YouTube page and our support page on Hub and Link. If you're looking for a client management option where you're able to communicate with your clients, whether you're grabbing a T4 or some slips or some expense receipts, it's a good idea to maybe use Hub and Link. So take a look at that. Okay, Ravinder. Rob, a question on previous webinar. Is Refile available for T2? I believe that is up and coming. So it will be available. It will be available soon. Okay. Oh, it is available now. Sorry, I just have my my consultant here on the tax side, and it is available now. So if you're up to date on your profile, just make sure that you do update your software. We did a release today, so those who don't know, we did a release today for 2017.0.0 if you want to update your software. So that's a question for Rob. Sane, RC59, which should be in T2. There is, I think, a RC59 in T2. It is also available in the T1 module. Okay. Olga, I am muted by organizer, can't hear. That's correct. You won't be able to, okay, so looks like Olga was able to figure that out by the next question. Jerry, Jerry has a question. How do I export invoices prepared in the T1 module to QuickBooks? It's not available in the T1 module, but it is available in the T2 module for QuickBooks. You have that option under, if I open up ProFile here, let me just bring it up quickly to show you. And I open up a T2. So let me just open up one of my T2s here. So I have a sample corporation. It's open. If I go under options, there is a, where is that? Integration. And that will enable you to bring in a QuickBooks invoice. So invoice to a T2. It's not available for T1. So if I have a T1 open, I'm going to reopen that. And now I go to options integration. it's actually only available for the T2s. Okay. All right. So just take note of that. That was for Jerry. Thank you for that question. That's a great question. Leona, colors, could have mentioned changing prior colors so you know whether you are in the current or prior. So by default, I believe ProFile changes the colors. So if it's current year, it gives a specific color so that you know that if you're working on a prior return. So if you notice that when I had ProFile open, this is a 2016. If I opened up a 2015, you'll notice that the form colors are different. Okay. Oh, they are the same. Sorry. So you can indicate for 2015 another color. That way you don't get confused. That is a good idea, Leona, if you want to indicate prior year as a different color so that you don't get confused that you're working on a 2015 or a 2016 return. Gurmit has a question. Data locking is an interesting feature. I tried with one file and it was open even if it locked. How does it work? It should lock the return, Gurmit, as soon as you have it indicated under File Properties. So if I lock this and I press OK, you'll notice that all your text turns green. That means that your return is locked. If I try to enter something, it will give you a message that it's been locked. In order for you to unlock it, it's going to give you a suggestion to go under File Properties to unlock it. Okay, so if you see the green, that you'll know that the file is locked. And if you had something where it was indicated as locked and you don't have the green text, let us know, Gurmeet, and we'll see if we can troubleshoot that for you. The variance itself, so let me see if I can indicate that. So I'm going to go to Options Module. I'm going to do it for 2015, okay, and I'm going to put a dollar amount of, say, 1,000. Let's do 500. That's good. Okay, and I'm going to press the Show Previous Variance by default. I'm going to press OK. I'm going to go to that 2015 return that I had. I'm going to do a carry forward. Oops. Go to the info page and carry forward this return, and say I put employment income of 5,000. Let's see if that will indicate anything. No, it doesn't. Okay. So basically, that's the idea, is you set it within your options module. Let me see if I do it for 2016 variance. Yes. 2015 is also the same. T1, TP1. Okay, dollar amount and percentage. Okay, so I'm going to press OK. Let me see if there's anything that, oh, there it is. So you'll notice that my line 101 is brown because anything that's different from prior year is going to, if there's a variance that you've applied, a range, like a dollar amount percentage, it's going to indicate that this amount is indicating a variance, that there is an amount that there's a difference in the variance. Okay, so that is the variance itself. Right, so that answers most of, I think that is for Natalia. Great question. Hopefully that helps you, Natalia. And let me answer one more question. This is a good question from C. Wolischuk. On the letter, can we add things such as unused tuition fees, carry forward, unused graduate retention credits, or other carry forward fields not in the original template? You know what? That is a great question. There is ways of customizing the letters, and you can definitely work with us on those. If you have something that you'd like to indicate within the letters, we would be happy to help you with that. Anything's possible within those letters of adding. Sometimes we may have to work with you to create a script where it'll grab the information from the return. So definitely it is feasible. If it's not in the letter itself and we would have to work with you, we would definitely would love to work with you when it comes to customizing that letter. Okay, so I think that's my time for today. I really appreciate everyone's attendance for today. I know we went over from the feedback from last week. I just wanted to make sure that I spent enough time to cover the questions, make sure I covered the content that I wanted to talk about today. Again, if you have any questions, please be open to sending me a message. I send out the email towards the end of the day. That way you can respond to me. I send the PowerPoint from this morning. You can use that. And just know that the recording of this webinar will be posted on our YouTube page and eventually onto our support page. So on behalf of Intuit Profile, just want to thank everyone for watching. Have a great day, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Take care.